So there is need for a change in the mindset of both developing and African countries to say we need to partner with Africa. There's a need for international community, there's a need for donor agencies, there's no need for foundations, private sector investment programs, non-government organizations. There's need for us to sit down and work together. Do we still want to have Africa on the periphery and expect that we are moving in the global village together? Do we think that in terms of globalization, the world can afford to have still the haves and have-nots? Probably not. And I think that's the message I would like to leave with you. It is necessary for the bilateral and multilateral trading institutions to look for new partnerships in industrial development, agricultural processing, food production. I'll be talking about food security later on in the United Nations this week. And I'm saying food security is meaningless unless it is looked at within the context of global trade and global food security. There should not be any section of the world that will be suffering from hunger and malnutrition when there's surplus food production somewhere else. And it takes a system, a good trading system, to make sure that goods move from, food moves from the surplus producing areas to the deficit areas. And that is part of international trade. And that's how you deal with the global food security. And indeed, when we have natural disasters, and there are many these days, again, if we had a perfect, maybe perfect is not a word, but a workable international trading system, we would be able to move goods and relief from one end of the world to the other end through trade. We are not talking about donor, we are not talking about philanthropic arrangements. We are talking about international trade, commercial entities moving food and other medicines, clothes, and all to the areas that are devastated. And that can happen through global trade. And in the process, I believe that not only would world trade and Africa's trade grow, but also economic and social development will take place. Now, before I sit down, I'd like to ask a few questions. As I started off by saying Africa has the largest deposits of minerals, and yet a very small share in trade. We have huge rivers and fertile agricultural lands, and yet only about 10% of our arable land in Africa is used for agriculture, particularly for trading purposes. We have the largest number of the people, of course, without food, those without adequate education, and those with without primary health care, inadequate schools, high illiteracy, and so on and so forth. All these actually happening because goods are not moving from one end of the globe to the other end. And I think we can look at it in that context. So perhaps one of the things we want to look at this afternoon is to say, why has Africa fared so dismally in international trade, despite all these potential resources, despite the huge minerals, agricultural potentials, and etc.? What is happening? What is a break? And can we, as a global nation, sit down using best practices to try and change this so that the majority of the people that are now engulfed in abject poverty can break the poverty trap and come out and go onto the road to prosperity? In other words, what can we do to change the scenario in order to bring Africa into the global trading system? Before again I sit down, I would like to indulge on you. There are two individuals here, I don't know whether they're here. Professor Jagdish Bhagwati, is he here? No, he's not here. Oh, okay. Okay, and Professor Padma Desai? Yes. She's also not here. His wife, she was here this morning. Ah, okay. She was here in the morning. Yes. Well, I mentioned these two individuals because they were my professors. So all the scenes I have in trade and development, they are responsible for it. I wish they were here. Because I'm only a student, and therefore I can only learn. But anyway, if they are not here, when they come in, I'll be able to interact with them. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.